Have you ever thought that a simple Spotify playlist might reveal someone's deepest secrets? Imagine noticing strange songs popping up out of nowhere, odd late-night listening sessions, or playlists that just don't add up. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. A revelation of a secret affair flipped my life upside down, and it all started with a few strange tracks. I ended up consulting a lawyer and ultimately went through with a divorce. But before I get into the details, please subscribe to my channel. I'm on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every bit of support truly means a lot. I, 47 male, have married my wife, 44 female, for over 15 years. We've been regulars at Bros, a little family-owned pub down the street, for the past 8 years. We go there every Wednesday for wings, on Fridays to watch the game, and on Sundays because they provide a delicious breakfast for $10. We know everyone's names and intimately know each other's lives. We live a long distance from family, and my wife has been alienated from hers for quite some time, so these people are like family to us. During lockdown, the establishment nearly failed but managed to survive. When I lost my job, they employed me despite the financial hardship. I worked making pizzas and delivering food quickly until I could get back on my feet. They literally saved us by taking their shirts off. About 4 months ago, a new guy started, and he became their new server. I'd notice him looking at my wife, and if I went to the washroom, he'd find his way back to our table when I wasn't there, even though he wasn't assigned to it. I could see him flirting with her. I'd joke with my wife about how this guy was clearly flirting with her, and she'd laugh it off, saying she was old enough to be his mother or something like, "I don't even notice." After a while, I observed that he brought her drinks she'd never had. She'd say, "Oh, I adore this," or something, and he'd make a small statement like, "I know," or "I remember," and I'd sit there like, "What?" I'd be like, "How could he know that?" And she always remarked something like, "Oh, he must be wonderful at reading people." Then, one night she begins playing this music, and I say, "Oh, I like this song." And she says, "Isn't it good? Patrick sent it to me." And I'm like, "Who is Patrick?" She claims that's the person who works for Brothers. I'm like, "How did he get your number?" And she informed me that he did not have her number. He heard her singing along to a song once. He said he wanted to send her some music recommendations, so they added each other on Instagram. This irritated me immediately, and I could see she was aware of my displeasure. Then she told me he makes music with his small indie band and wanted her to hear what he had because she indicated she worked in the industry. To be fair, my wife works in the music business. She handles music licensing for advertising. It isn't the most glamorous work, but she enjoys it. She collaborates with many indie bands and musicians, assisting them in getting their music featured in commercials, brands, or products. When she stated this, I attempted to ignore it and accept that she was probably just networking, but it was still wrong. We headed to Bros for wings on Wednesday nights, as we always do. Patrick was working and was smiling and charming to my wife. He was also kind to me. I could not help but say something. I asked her whether she had heard any more of Patrick's music. She goes on to claim that she has and that he is pretty skilled, and she has been considering pitching one of his songs to a client. I'm not going to lie, I was jealous. I questioned if she believed being so friendly with him was appropriate. That's when she rolled her eyes and stated she was just looking for new talent, which I should understand because I was that kid chasing his dreams. She asks, "Why can't I help him out?" She stated that if I were him, I'd want someone to assist me. Before I go any further, I'd like to stop and provide some background information before I forget. My wife and I met at a music event several years ago. I was a bass player in a band opening for the headline act then. When we finished our set, my wife approached us and asked me to sign the CD we were selling. Shortly after, my wife and I traveled to London and visited together. We had a fantastic manager at the time who managed to get us some concerts in England and Scotland. We returned and enrolled in school, she for audio engineering and I for music therapy. I work in a continuing care facility and volunteer at a children's hospital. A part of me saw her looking at Patrick in the same way she used to look at me. The smile in her eyes made me sick. I told her that I didn't want to be the jealous husband, but the situation with Patrick was bothering me. I didn't like how much they chatted and the secret inside jokes they shared. I told her I believed he was overstepping and didn't like it. Then she gets up from the table and tells me I'm acting weak and unreasonable. She remarked she couldn't believe a 40-something-year-old man was jealous of a punk youngster. I end up eating the rest of my wings alone. When I arrived home later that night, she was crying in her bedroom. She says she's sorry. She claims that if Patrick annoys me so much, she will not aid him and will make an excuse to unfollow him. She says, "I'm not sure how we're going to avoid him at Bros." I simply tell her that maybe he'll get the point once she tells him whatever she's doing about not using his music. Perhaps he's just trying to suck up to you because he thinks you can make him famous. She tells me she makes an excuse and then cuts him off, telling him he has the incorrect idea about her. We then agreed to avoid Bros for a few weeks to let things settle down and for this kid to grasp the message. Shortly after, she informed me that she and her girlfriends are starting a pottery class once a week in the evenings for 6 weeks. I was like, cool, because I knew she'd been wanting to try it, so I told her to go for it. I went for a run one evening as she left for class, and when I returned, I realized I forgot to bring my set of house keys, so I was locked out. Then I remember I handed the owners a set of house keys once in case something happened, so I head down to Bros and inform Phyllis, one of the owners, that I've locked myself out. She is overjoyed to see me and hugs me despite my sweaty state. She says it's been too long and asks why I haven't been around. I had to find a reason quickly, even though I despise lying to her. I can't simply say, "Oh, I don't trust Patrick with my wife, so we're avoiding you guys now," or hope she would fire him. Instead, I say, "Oh, my wife and I are cutting back on eating out and trying to be healthier." She looks at me, perplexed, and says, "Oh, but I still see your wife." She pops in for lunch and I've seen her here for dinner at least once a week in the last few weeks. I need clarification and start looking around to see if Patrick is working. Then I asked Phyllis if Patrick was working tonight, and she said he had Tuesdays off. Conveniently, my wife told me that her pottery courses are on Tuesdays. Then I try to joke and tell Phyllis that I seem to be the only one sticking to our healthy New Year's resolution. I try to smile and add, "My wife just can't get enough of your food, Phyllis." She gives me a half smile and asks if everything's okay. I try to grin and pretend everything is fine in the neighborhood, but inside the sirens are going off, and I'm pretty sure I know precisely what's happening. I'm almost positive Phyllis can read the expression on my face. I ask Phyllis for the keys and return home. When I go back, I start lurking on Instagram. It turns out that my wife did unfollow him. That makes sense. He wasn't following her either. I'm looking through his page and I don't see any recent images of his that my wife has liked or vice versa. I'm trying to shake it off, planning how to face her about this. I decided to go on Spotify and listen to music to relax and maybe play my guitar. I somehow get up on my wife's Spotify page, looking for music she previously recommended. I discovered that I can see her followers and who she follows. So I checked her followers and noticed a guy called Patrick was following her. I go onto his account, and his profile photo is his face. It's definitely the Patrick I wish hadn't been. I log into his account and see a public playlist titled Sneaky Link Bedroom Playlist, which my wife had loved and bookmarked. I looked through his other playlists and noticed she has not liked any of the ones he has curated. I return to Bros immediately after this and ask Phyllis if my wife has met up with anyone when she comes in for lunch or dinner. She tells me she comes alone, yet she spends much time conversing with Patrick. I thanked her, and she asked again whether everything was fine. Now I'm like, I really don't know. Then she leans in and says, "If I'm being honest, their interactions don't look that innocent." She told me she was going to dinner with some girlfriends but must have gone to Bros instead. Regarding the lunches, I assume she ate at Bros during her work breaks. It takes roughly 7 minutes to get from her office to Bros. When she got home that evening, I inquired how her class went. She said it went well and they're learning to create mugs. I asked her again where it was and she gave me the location. She leaves to wash up and I use my phone to check online to see any evidence of these classes being held on Tuesdays. I can tell there isn't, but I emailed the facility's owner to double-check. Surprisingly, I received a response within 20 minutes, and she said that she did not have any classes scheduled right now, but would next month. So now I'm here in the living room pretending to watch a show and writing this on my phone while she sleeps in bed, or so she says. I'm not sure how to feel. I'm angry, numb, and feel manipulated. How did I get here? I never believed she'd cheat on me. I've had to pretend I know nothing. I took a day off to confirm that I saw her car out front of Bros for lunch, which was enjoyable. But after learning everything, I tried to devise a strategy to approach her with what I knew. Last night, I took her a bath and served her a glass of wine. While she was in the tub, I connected my phone to one of her bedroom speakers and began playing her Sneaky Link playlist. I was curious how long it would take her to catch on to this playlist once she got out of the bathtub. She soon left, and I began caressing her feet as we lay in bed. She's humming along with the music when she abruptly pauses, looks at me, and asks what music I'm playing. I tell her about this new playlist I recently discovered and ask if she has heard any of the songs. Then she moves her feet away, looks at me, and asks what the playlist is named. I look at my phone, pretend innocent, and say the name. There is stillness between us until I tell her I stopped by to see Phyllis this week after my run since I had forgotten my house keys. She says, "Oh yeah?" And then I tell her that Phyllis recalled seeing her at Bros frequently. She says, "Yes, I've been wanting to tell you. I go in just to see them. I miss them." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too." Then I allow her to tell me the truth and say, "Do you want a chance to tell me what's going on?" She's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Don't act silly." Then I told her that I took Friday off, left the house pretending to go to work, and parked around the block until I saw she was gone. Then I returned home. I told her that at lunchtime I went to see if her car was parked in front of Bros, which it was. Then she says, "Okay, so you have a playlist and spotted me having lunch at Bros. What does this prove?" I urged her to come clean and told them she would not attend pottery class since I called the company. She claimed she was conducting the sessions. They only have classes next month. I also informed her that Phyllis had stated that Patrick has Tuesdays off work. I'm like, is this just a coincidence? She jumps out of bed, calls me a sick bastard for following her around, and accuses me of fabricating stories simply because I'm jealous of a boy. She packs a bag, tells me she needs some distance from me, and requests that I leave her alone for a few days. I'm like, are we seriously doing this? I've been connecting the dots and all the signs point to you cheating on me with some wannabe Dallas Green. Then she pulls the "you're just jealous. He's more talented than you and is going somewhere" card. So I go really low and tell her that dating a juvenile will not turn back the clock. She throws a brush at me before leaving. I'm still unsure where she's staying, but that's the latest news. She went to stay with him, and he lives in his parents' basement suite. So that is hilarious. Apparently, Patrick was spreading the goods to Phyllis's granddaughter, who occasionally works at Bros, unaware that we're all related. He told her that my ex left me because I was jealous and controlling, and that she's now staying at his apartment where they've been having wild, unhinged sex, and it's the best he's ever had. I'm unsure why he needed to tell her this, maybe to make her jealous, or perhaps he's foolish. I am betting on the latter. Phyllis's granddaughter informed Phyllis, who promptly came over with dinner to check on me and feed me because she suspected I wasn't feeling well. Honestly, I was not surprised. It wasn't what I wanted to hear, but only reaffirmed what I already knew. Thank God for Phyllis and Brad, they are charming people. I'm not sure where I would be without them. After discovering this, I changed the locks and reset the garage door code. I informed her she wasn't welcome back and could start again with her Mr. the Brady Bunch. She later acknowledged that she had gone to Brodus without me to meet Patrick and discuss his future music aspirations. She agreed to sleep with him but claimed it happened after she packed some of her belongings and left for space. Apparently, she only slept with him because she felt we were separated. I'm unsure where she got that idea. I never used the word separation or asked for it. I just wanted her to give me the truth about what was happening. But if that's her opinion, I'll play along. I told Phyllis everything, and she said she had a suspicion but didn't want to get involved or stir things up. I told her that was fine and that I would have done the same. She provided me the phone number of a cousin of hers who is an attorney and can help with this. Everything feels pretty similar to Goodfellas. I had to convince Phyllis that, as upset as I am, I don't want my ex to vanish from the face of the earth, if you know what I mean. She chuckled and said he's not that sort of cousin, unless I want him to be. A mutual acquaintance who works with my ex told me that she tried to hook little Patty up with a little gig, but it fell through because her higher-ups thought he was trash. When he walked in to meet people and audition, he acted like he deserved the whole star treatment. He was asking for coffee and expected to be waited on hand and foot with all his unusual requirements. Her superiors were unimpressed with his music, which they deemed unprofessional and lacking quality. The actual stinger was this kid's behavior at the meeting. Instead of being grateful for the opportunity, I believe he walked in like he was already a rock star. Apparently, he has been blacklisted. The industry is vast, but if you irritate enough of the right people, they'll make sure everyone knows about you for all the wrong reasons. Also, my ex is coping with the consequences of being linked to someone like him. When my ex came over to pick up some things, she confirmed that she had been living with him until they turned him down and denied him his chance at glory, as she had reportedly promised, and then he kicked her out. So, yeah, he was just here for one thing. I'm still determining who he thought my ex was, but she wasn't someone who could make him famous in a commercial. She also stated that when she thought we were separated, it was not the first time they had sex. They had just had sex before I informed her I wasn't cool with the entire Patrick issue. She said she'd come over for lunch and they'd have a quickie in his car before returning to the house to screw on her couch. She admits to falling for him because she thought his voice was affable. She felt like I was washed up and had lost hope for anything. She felt as if she was having sex with an elderly man. Yeah, ouch. I'm still determining where she's now. But Phyllis stated that she attempted to request a place to stay with her, but was told that none were available. Way to go, Phyllis. Old Patty, I suppose, has quit turning up for his shifts at Brada's. I checked his Instagram and saw he posted much woe is me content. On another issue, I spoke with Phyllis's cousin, who connected me with one of his legal colleagues and initiated the divorce proceedings. And that is precisely what it is, a process. But it's time for me to move on and concentrate on rebuilding my life while thanking my lucky stars for folks like Phyllis and Bradley. As I've already stated, I'm unsure where I'd be without them, possibly still being someone's fool. But I'll keep the melancholy songwriting for youngsters like him. That concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more similar stuff. Don't forget to activate the notification bell to ensure you never miss an update. And if you have any similar anecdotes or ideas on today's topic, please share them in the comments section below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.